I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, the head coach for JobSearchCoachingHQ.com and NoBSCoachingAdvice.com. Recruiters are, particularly contingency and corporate recruiters, tend to be in a tough place. Particularly, I'm going to say the contingency recruiters, because their income is really predicated upon the success of completing an assignment. And your desire is to have them work for you when in fact they work for an employer. Now, I want to go through a couple of the things that recruiters forget to mention along the way. I remember from my experience doing search, which I don't do any longer. But the first and foremost thing is we've got someone on a final. We're going to keep you in our hip pocket in case that person doesn't get the offer before we submit you. You were late getting to the party with them. You heard about the job in some manner, shape, or form. They've had someone on 3 interviews. They're not going to rush out and submit you for the role and slow down their client from ultimately making a decision that could help them make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year or more. So they forget to mention that fact while they're qualifying you and say, we know they've seen a couple of people. They haven't mentioned it's their person, that they're the person who submitted them, nor is it necessary really. And we'll get back in touch with you once we know whether or not they're ready to talk with you. Okay. Another thing that they forget to mention, maybe they could have gone back and gotten you a few dollars more. Sometimes, and I had clients who did this, the client would make lower offers than what the person really wanted, with an eye toward maybe they get the person, but they also had the money in their hip pocket to go a little bit higher. After they did this with me a couple of times, I was able to turn around and say, are we playing can I get them a little bit lower game again? I just want to make sure I understand this. So if by some miracle they say yes, great, but I'm not going to push it if we got more. So recognize that sometimes, the recruiters forget to mention that there's more money that's available to you. Next thing, you have laden your resume with so many keywords that it's impossible for you to have all that experience. And, we can smell BS. It's the reality to it. And I still speak of myself as a recruiter because I did it for 40 years, and the coaching work is much newer by comparison. But the reality is we can smell BS. And if you load your resume with too many keywords, when push comes to shove, we're going to take a pass. Another thing we discover pretty early on is that your references aren't really all that good. And sometimes those references come through a back channel. After all, recruiters have access to lots of different resources. They've got a database, they have LinkedIn connections with people throughout the world. And sometimes you can just reach out to someone through your database, call them and say, hey, I'm representing so-and-so, they're about to get an offer, or I'm representing so-and-so, and what did you think of them? What do you think of them? And sometimes you hear some abominable stuff. Like I remember getting to a stage with a candidate where the client was going to make an offer, and I had to stop them in the middle of the process. I spoke to 2 people who the candidate gave me as references, who said, I'd never hire this guy again in a million years. How do you give out a reference like that? It's unbearable. So you've got to recognize that recruiters are going to hear stuff that you don't necessarily want them to hear, and it's going to be costly. Another thing that sometimes happens is you go on an interview and you just don't present yourself that well. Whether it's the way you dress, with some people the way you smell, the way you command or more likely don't command the room. First impressions have meaning, And if you don't present yourself well, employers make pretty quick decisions as to whether or not they're going to pay attention to the rest of the conversation. So the likelihood is, once you don't get past the first impression, it's really hard. You're swimming upstream. It's hard to change their mind about considering you. Sometimes you're seeing a job listing, or you've gotten an employee referral and they've forgotten to take the listing down, and they're already talking to someone in-house. And, let's see now. Do we give the promotion to someone? Do we give the opportunity to someone who our firm already knows and knows does good work? Or do we hire an absolute stranger and risk losing this person? These are among the things that recruiters forget to mention along the way. And especially in the case of the last one, where you're competing with someone in-house, it's not often that recruiters, whether corporate or third party, are going to tell you that. They're just saying, we're going to talk to a couple of people and get back to you if we're interested. Yeah, sure. So I'll just simply say, in dealing with recruiters, you may be getting partial information. And you have to read between the lines through their actions and not just simply their words in order to know what's going on. So I hope you found this helpful. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'll say that if you're interested in my helping you in your search by preparing you for interviews, reviewing your resume, preparing you for second and third interviews, helping you with the negotiation, answering your questions, whatever it is, reach out to me through LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. Mention that you saw the video because I like knowing that I'm helping some folks. Once we're connected, message me. And if it's for coaching, we'll set up a time for a free discovery call so I understand what you need. I don't work for free. I just want to be clear about this. If you want me to review a resume, I charge for that. If you want me to prepare you for an interview, I charge for that. This is the nature of the work that I do. Also, if you want help with hiring, I'm not trying to fill jobs with you, but I'm trying to help you be more effective. Again, reach out to me through LinkedIn. We'll set up a coaching session. I'll see how you're doing it now, what you're doing well. If you're doing fine, I'm not going to charge you, but if there's some things I can recommend that will improve the process, let me see if I can help. Hope you have a great day and take care.